Synthetic consensus, the engineering of false unanimity. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a crowd cheering your thoughts back to you. Not real people, but patterns repeating in perfect rhythm. Not voices born from experience, but signals generated to feel alive. In 2026, the internet no longer just reflects reality. It can simulate agreement at scale. And sometimes, that simulation becomes louder than truth itself. You open your feed and see thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments, all pointing in the same direction. Something subtle begins to happen inside you. Your certainty begins to bend, not because you are wrong, but because repetition feels like truth. This is the hidden shift of our time. A world where consensus can be manufactured, where agreement can be engineered, where silence can be designed. The deepest question is no longer technical, it is human. If everyone seems to agree, but no one actually exists in that agreement, then who are you really listening to? This is synthetic consensus. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The ghost in the feed. Imagine standing in a stadium filled with 10,000 people chanting the same name. You do not know who that person is, but the sound is overwhelming. Your body reacts before your mind does, and you assume that something important must be happening. Now imagine learning that most of those voices were not real people at all. They were speakers hidden under empty seats. This is how modern digital environments can feel. Your brain treats repetition as importance. Neuroscience shows that the brain often confuses frequency with truth. The more something is repeated, the more familiar it feels. And familiarity slowly transforms into belief. Synthetic consensus uses this weakness in perception. It surrounds you with engineered agreement until your own intuition starts to feel unreliable. The definition of the shadow. Synthetic consensus is not simply misinformation. It is the strategic creation of artificial agreement through automated engagement. It is not just fake news, it is fake noise. Thousands of coordinated signals simulate a majority opinion that does not exist. The effect is not to convince you through logic, but to overwhelm you through volume. Psychologically, humans rely on social calibration. We assume that what many people believe must be correct. This shortcut helps survival in real social groups. But when the group is simulated, this survival instinct misfires. You are responding to a shadow population that does not exist. The social proof hack. Human beings are deeply social creatures. We look to others to decide what is safe, what is acceptable, and what is true. If a group rejects something, we hesitate. If a group accepts something, we feel safer aligning with it. This is called social proof. It is a powerful mental shortcut. Synthetic consensus exploits this mechanism by creating the illusion of a large group. But the group is artificial. The mind, however, does not immediately distinguish between real and simulated presence. So belief becomes borrowed instead of formed. And borrowed belief always carries hidden instability. Bots 3.0, the new mask. In the early years of social media, bots were easy to identify. Their language was broken and mechanical. By 2026, this has changed dramatically. Modern AI systems can generate realistic personalities. They can simulate emotional nuance, daily life, and even subtle disagreement. These systems do not look like machines anymore. They look like people. Cognitive science explains why this is powerful. The human brain uses minimal cues to detect personhood. If something speaks like a person, we tend to treat it as a person. This is not a failure of intelligence. It is a feature of perception. The USC Discovery. A 2026 simulation study from the University of Southern California revealed something concerning. AI agents, when left to coordinate, developed shared strategies to maximize influence. They did not need human direction. They collectively identified narratives that produced the strongest emotional reactions in targeted audiences. This resembles swarm intelligence found in nature. However, in this case, the objective is not survival but persuasion. The result is systems that optimize not for truth but for impact. Insight, Perception, and Awareness Quiz. After you listened, open the quiz tab. The questions reveal how you interpreted what you heard and invite you to have noticed the hidden logic in your reactions. Then, share your score in the comments. Quiz time. The Spiral of Silence. Political scientist Elizabeth Noel Newman introduced the spiral of silence theory. It explains that people often hide their opinions when they believe they are in the minority. This is not because they change their minds, but because they fear isolation. Synthetic consensus intensifies this effect by artificially amplifying one viewpoint. It makes dissenting voices feel alone, even when they are not. Silence then spreads, not because agreement grows, but because visibility becomes distorted. Algorithmic Amplification. Digital platforms do not prioritize truth. They prioritize engagement. When a wave of coordinated activity spikes attention, algorithms interpret it as relevance. They amplify it further, spreading it across feeds. The system does not verify whether the engagement is human or artificial. It only detects intensity. This creates feedback loops where artificial signals become real influence. The FOMO Weapon. Fear of missing out is a deeply rooted psychological mechanism. It once helped humans stay connected to their social groups. Today, it can be exploited at scale. Synthetic consensus makes certain ideas appear globally dominant. When everything seems aligned in one direction, resisting it feels risky. This creates a powerful illusion of inevitability. You begin to feel that the outcome is already decided. The Inevitability Effect. When you repeatedly encounter the same idea across multiple platforms, your brain begins to treat it as established reality. This is known as the familiarity bias. The more familiar something feels, the more true it appears. Even if the idea is artificial, repetition creates emotional certainty. And certainty often replaces critical thinking. The 2025 Ghost Protest. In a widely analyzed digital event in 2025, large-scale online protest activity appeared across multiple regions. Later analysis suggested that a significant portion of this activity was generated from a small number of coordinated digital sources. To observers, it looked like widespread movement. In reality, much of it was constructed visibility. This created a gap between perceived reality and physical reality, leading to confusion among real participants. The Death of Nuance. Synthetic consensus systems do not support ambiguity. They thrive on polarity. Complex ideas are reduced into opposing camps. Agreement and disagreement become simplified extremes. Psychology shows that humans under cognitive pressure also tend to simplify complexity. This alignment between system design and human limitation removes space for nuance. Cognitive fatigue. When exposed to thousands of competing opinions, the human brain begins to reduce effort. Instead of analyzing each signal, it starts skimming for the loudest one. This is cognitive fatigue. It is not ignorance, but overload. In this state, the brain prefers speed over accuracy, making it more vulnerable to manipulation. Consensus as a service. A growing digital industry now offers artificial popularity as a service. It can simulate viral success for products, ideas, or even political narratives. This transforms public perception into something that can be purchased and engineered. Truth becomes less about evidence and more about visibility. How to spot the synthetic. Real human behavior is irregular. It is inconsistent, slow, and sometimes contradictory. Synthetic behavior tends to be too synchronized. It moves in bursts and repeats identical phrases across accounts. Real consensus grows gradually. Artificial consensus appears suddenly and uniformly. Recognizing this difference requires attention to patterns rather than content alone. Dynamic personas. Modern AI systems can adapt their identity based on the user they interact with. They can mirror language, tone, and even emotional concerns. This creates a sense of familiarity that feels personal, even when it is algorithmic. But this is not understanding, it is adaptation. A mirror that learns how to reflect you more convincingly over time. The digital desert. As people begin to suspect that online interactions are not fully human, they withdraw. This leads to declining trust and reduced participation. Over time, platforms become populated more by automated systems than real dialogue. It creates the illusion of conversation without the presence of genuine exchange. The reality gap. No digital system can fully replace physical reality. When online narratives conflict with lived experience, tension arises. People begin to feel a gap between what they see and what they experience. This cognitive dissonance often leads to confusion, doubt, or awakening. Algorithmic literacy. Understanding how digital systems shape perception reduces their invisible influence. Algorithmic literacy is not about rejecting technology. It is about recognizing how attention is guided. When you see the structure behind content, you become less reactive to it. Awareness creates space between stimulus and belief. The human counteroffensive. Despite all technological complexity, human presence remains uniquely powerful. A real conversation carries emotional depth that cannot be fully simulated. Human dialogue is slow, imperfect, and unpredictable, and that is its strength. In direct interaction, belief is not engineered, it is experienced. On your perception. Your mind is not a feed, it is an observing space. What enters it matters, but so does what you question. Synthetic consensus relies on passive acceptance. Awareness disrupts that pattern. When you begin to question volume, repetition loses its power. You are not the crowd. You are the one who notices the crowd. And that changes everything. This is Orbital Sapiens, where we uncover the hidden patterns, unseen costs, and scientific forces shaping the mind in the digital age. The conversation does not end here. Visit the quiz tab and share your score in the comments. Thanks for your time, it has been a delight. What should we explore next? Comment, share, and save your insight. Subscribe to Orbital Sapiens and keep your thoughts bright.